So I'm going to do this whole post, but I'm going to give you guys a reminder of who this woman is. So this was posted in the 2X chromosomes, and it's titled, "The Vet Gave My Abuser My Location." She says, "I want to say this was a genuine mistake and not done with malicious intent, but I still need to vent about it. Just like my daughter's school letting my abuser give her a message. This was an accident, but accidents put my life in danger and I'm exhausted. I post about my situation a lot, and despite a few users thinking my ex would find my Reddit, I'm not worried about that. However, I'm terrified of him knowing where I am. He has gone through a restraining order, police don't scare him, and when he got or gets arrested, he will just get bailed out. I knew the only way I could live a normal life was getting as far away from him as possible. Now, as I'm scrolling Reddit and this popped back up on my homepage, I'm like, this sounds like something we've already seen before. So I click this person's username and it takes me to this post, which I did 5 months ago. And it takes me to this post that we did 5 months ago. This is the woman whose boyfriend at the time served her up some soup, and she was like, "What is going on with this soup?" She says, "5 months ago, am I the a-hole for believing my daughter over a grown man?" She says, "I don't know if I watch too many crime shows or if I'm just paranoid, so I've come here to ask. Last week I made chicken gnocchi soup. When it was almost done, I started helping my daughter with a school project. She got us both a bowl, and a few seconds later, my boyfriend runs into the room with the bowl and tells me to eat the bowl he has. I told him it was all the same, and he insisted he wanted mine because it had more chicken. Thinking back now, I don't know how he would know that, considering my daughter dished it out. My daughter took the bowl he gave and said she would eat it. He yanked it out of her hand and said, "No, it's for mom." So I don't know if y'all remember the soup story. And then she talks about how she had some getaway money. She said she had an older sister who was in a terrible situation and wasn't able to get away. And she vowed she wasn't going to do that. And after the soup situation, she decided to go get her money. She said she changed the location every few months and the money was gone. She said, "I asked my daughter maybe if she found it and that if she took it, I wouldn't be mad because I know she couldn't have spent it." She said, "No." A few hours later, she tells me she forgot, but the other day, her and her boyfriend got pulled over and she saw my pink wallet in the boyfriend's, glove box. I did not tell her which wallet it was in or that it was in a wallet. And then the woman decided to ask her boyfriend if he had seen the money. He asked me why I was hiding such a large amount of money. You know you could never leave me, and laughed. He has never said anything like that. I told him it was for my daughter's Christmas. He said no, he didn't find the money, but could use his credit card to buy some gifts. So it seems like her spidey senses are tingling at this point. Okay, so I'm not going to do this whole story, but you can read some of this. She just keeps having accidents when she's with him. And now she's starting to put some of this stuff together. She's thinking, is she overthinking this? She's thinking, is it her anxiety? Or she's watching too much true crime. She's blaming herself. Okay, so then the woman does actually try to get away. She sees that she is not safe. Her boyfriend is now her ex-boyfriend. She gets away. This was posted 4 months ago. She said, "I thought we were safe. A lot of people wanted an update. On Christmas, he slashed my tires, knowing I would have to pay out of pocket to replace them, which I don't have. Today, he threw a heavy patio chair through the window of the place we were staying at to let me know he knew where I was, and she was asked to leave that property for everyone else's safety." And this was around Christmas time. And remember, he had already stolen her money. She had to just get away. And she couldn't figure out how he was tracking her. He put an air tag in her cat carrier. That's how he was tracking her down. So you guys can read through this. I'm not going to read through all of this. So she's going through the process of trying to get a restraining order, trying to get her child to safety and her cat to safety and be safe herself. But this dude keeps following her. So, like she said, she has been updating Reddit throughout the months. And then 3 months ago, she says, "A restraining order didn't stop him. This morning he found me. I've been sick as hell. So after I dropped my daughter off at school, I went straight home. I didn't drive around to make sure no one was following me. I messed up. He broke my nose and shattered my orbital bone. He is in jail. Sorry for this update, y'all. So, like I said, this was 3 months ago. So that's how we get to this point today where the vet gave the abuser her location. Okay, so let's get into this. I already did the first paragraph. So let's start with this middle paragraph. She says, so I took my daughter and cat and moved in with my mom a few states away. I was 100% confident that he didn't know where I was because they never met. We were actually estranged for a few years before my ex and I even got together. I started feeling safe. I stopped jumping when I heard loud trucks. I was starting to get comfortable, even though not a lot of time had passed. A few days ago, my cat's back legs stopped working and he lost all control of his bodily fluids. I was working, but my mom rushed him to the ER vet. There were questions she couldn't answer, so they asked if he was chipped. He is, but I changed my number a few times lately, so one of the numbers was out of service, so they called the second one. I forgot to remove his number. I know this is my fault. The vet called him to get information, and he didn't give any information and hung up on them. The receptionist said he called back 5 minutes later and said, I know she doesn't have money. Tell her I'll save her cat if she comes home. He knows how much my cat means to me. He found me the first time I left because his mom helped him sew an air tag into the lining of the cat carrier. He knew if I was to ever leave, I wouldn't leave my cat. One time, my ex threw him out of the house to hurt me while I was at work. He refused to leave the porch. My ex even tried squirting him with a water bottle, and when that didn't work, he sprayed him with the hose. He basically got waterboarded and still would not leave. He is my soul cat. When I got to the vet and they told me what happened, I had one of the worst panic attacks I've had in a while. I've had my cat for 10 years and he has never gotten sick or injured. He has a UTI and a fractured foot from falling. The vet thinks he probably got his foot hurt first and that led to the UTI since he wasn't using the litter box. I noticed he was slightly limping a few days ago, but I couldn't get him into the vet yet. The UTI developed quickly. I was naive in thinking the vet would save a pet's life even if the owner couldn't pay up front. But this isn't like a human going to the ER. I've spent so much money and time trying to get away from my ex while also trying to live a normal, safe life for my daughter. Once again, something happens, and now he knows the city we are in. I'm not running again because I can't. I don't think he'll drive up here because, like I said, I'm a few states away. But the man did bring back my paranoia and irrational fear. I changed the chip information, but the damage is done. I was an effing idiot for not doing it sooner. This is my fault. I'm so damn tired. I will always acknowledge that you never know if Reddit posts are real, but we do know that trying to escape an abusive relationship is a real scenario that women face. And this type of thing can happen. And so I just want to plant the possibilities that this is the things that some of women go through. And this is one of the reasons why to always have some money, always be aware of these chips and how people can track you, how people track you with a phone, and all of these things that you might not have thought about until we started doing some of these Reddit posts. How to trust your intuition when something is going off, how some of these things, when you look at one singular event, it might just seem weird, but when you put a few of them together, it's like, no, you're in danger, girl. You're in danger, girl. So just keep this in mind that yes, I recognize that some of these things could be a work of fiction, but some of these things that are situations that could happen, and escaping for women is life or death. And it could impact your children, and in this situation, impact your pets. So keep that in mind. People do harm other folks' pets because it's unlikely that someone is going to go to jail for harming someone's pet. So I just wanted to put that out there. Jump in the comments. Let me know. Do you even remember this story? And don't forget to like, comment, and share. This is just your friendly reminder that divorce is a possibility and nobody has to stay attached to people in marriage if they don't want to be. I'm just putting that out there. This was posted in the Breaking Mom subreddit. She says, I'm so grossed out by my husband and it's making me hate him to the core. I will repeat that. I am so grossed out by my husband and it's making me hate him to the core. Now, I'm just putting it out there that nobody has to stay attached to somebody. You can leave because this title alone just says, why are you still with this person? To me. Okay, but let's read the post. She says, on top of everything else I've listed in my post about the gross my husband does and doesn't do, like not brushing his teeth or using a scrubby in the shower or never clipping his toenails so they curl over the ends of his toes and are dark brown and yellow. Okay, so y'all, I did not go back and look at her former posts, but that paragraph right there is enough to say divorce. Okay, she says, and this is gross, y'all. My husband is always congested, right? So he's always coughing and sounds like he has bronchitis. Well, the other thing he always does, he coughs up mucus on the walls and surfaces and leaves it there. Just leaves it. Doesn't bother to wipe it up right away like a normal human being who considers others' feelings and comfort. He leaves it. There are 100 splotches of dried mucus all over the walls of our current rental, and if I asked him to clean it up, he doesn't. The wall next to the bed where he sleeps, literally covered in mucus. Like, this is bioterrorism, right? Like, this is unhealthy to be living in. What? oh, how did it get to 100? How did it even get to 5? Like, why are you still able to type? You should be leaving. There's no what reason why. Yeah, I am just. I've stepped in it, rolled over in it, sat in it on chairs or the couch. This sounds like a horror story. Had it unintentionally wiped on my face by a kid with a blanket that he coughed into and didn't care to put it in the laundry. Yeah, my kid was cuddling with his glorified wet sticky handkerchief. If I could post pictures here, I still wouldn't because it's so effing gross. Nobody deserves to be exposed to it. If I don't notice it somewhere and it gets on me and I get grossed out and tell him to clean it off of me and wipe it off whatever surface is on, he acts like I'm the problem. My husband coughs up thick, dark mucus onto the walls and other surfaces in the house, and he doesn't effing clean it. But I'm the abusive one because I call him a jackass when he gets annoyed at me for having to ask him to clean it up multiple times, y'all. He doesn't cough into a tissue or anything. He just coughs in the open and sprays everything. This man sounds like that green ectoplasma on the Ghostbusters that would just leave green slime everywhere. And this story literally sounds like a horror movie, like um, Jordan Peele or Jordan Key or whichever one he is could, yeah, whichever one could write this as a story and make millions of dollars in it. And we would all have nightmares about this is disgusting, and no one should have to live with this. And the fact that he is getting mad at her is literally gaslighting, or it's Darbo. It's reversing the victim offender. That's what it is. This is, oh man, this is terrible. Do not accept this. If somebody that you're living with is gross, you you end the relationship and you live in a different dwelling other than the one that this person is living in, and let them coat the the apartment in mucus and you not live there because this is a biohazard. Okay, so this person, my name isn't Flower, says, babe, I'm not the one to say get the F out, but dear Lord, that's unhygienic and effing gross. It'd be like leaving period blood hanging out on the toilet seat, hell, free bleeding into the bed and expecting him to lay in it. I'm so sorry. So she says, I'm not the one to say get the F out. Hey, I'm that one. I'll say it. Get the F out. And then the OP says, oh my God, that's such a good comparison. I'm totally using that one the next time I talk to him about it. Why are you even talking to him about it? You need to leave. He's a biohazard. And Pony Party Posse says, no, girl, you need to leave. This is disgusting and not okay for your kids to be living in. I looked at your post history and he is abusive and disgusting. Get the F out and make a better life for yourself. You and your children deserve to live in a clean home. Tomorrow, I will look at this woman's post history. I'm going to look at this woman's post history because WTF. Zero says, I'm going to hazard a guess that talking to him won't do an ounce of good. He knows, he just doesn't care. He's banking on the fact that you'll put up with any level of filth he subjects you to. Imagine if it was a friend telling you this. If they said the contents of your post word for word and asked you what to do if their husband was hawking up loogies on the walls, couch, floor, and even the baby blanket where the baby rolls in, what advice would you give to them? Oh my God, this is Sourdough Obsessed says, how is this not a constant conversation? I think I'd seriously not stop talking about it until it was fixed. And then the OP says, because honestly, every time I bring up something that I would like him to change, it turns into a conversation about how I'm abusive because I'm hurting his feelings and never care about his feelings. I know at the surface, all of this sounds insane, like how the actual F am I still with him? It's extremely complicated. So, what is Darvo? Darvo is a manipulation tactic where when a person brings up something that has been done to them, the other person reverses it. They deny that they're doing the thing. They attack the other person. They reverse who the victim is, reverse victim offender. That is what Darvo stands for. Deny, attack, reverse victim offender. And basically say, you're the one that is the problem. So the woman who is bringing up the hawking loogie person, she's the problem in this situation, according to Darvo. And she is being told that she's the one that is the a-hole. But she needs to leave because this is a biohazard and it's unhygienic and it's unhealthy. Raven the Claw says, please leave for the sake of your kids. You are teaching them that this is an acceptable way to behave and an acceptable way to live. Do not threaten him or let him know that you're preparing to leave. This is when women are most in danger. You've pleaded enough times, so stop. Document everything. Take photos of all the disgusting things he's leaving around the house. Take screenshots. Find a lawyer. You need to Katie Holmes out of there. Um, Key Huckleberry says he's gaslighting you there. You try and tell him he has a problem. He starts playing the victim and turns it on you. He will not change. And then the person at the bottom says he's using a technique called Darvo, which I just spelled out. Y'all, this is, yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, comment, share. This is another conversation I want to have about how children are adultified or parentified, where basically especially the firstborn or the firstborn daughter is made to be like a mother surrogate and basically lose their childhoods. And I want children of today to not have to go through this where they just basically lose their childhood because they have to fill in and be adults instead of children. This woman in the 2X chromosome says, forced to babysit. That's the title, forced to babysit. She says, was anyone else forced to babysit as a preteen or teen, whether you liked it or not? She says, at 10, I was watching my sisters. At 11, I was watching cousins. At 12, I was babysitting anyone's kid. Did anyone ever ask me if I wanted to babysit? Of course not. I hated every second of it. I'm just not good with kids. Huge reason why I never had any. I still remember being forced to take that CPR babysitting class at our local hospital. They brought in screaming kids and babies, and I've never wanted to run out of a room so badly. I got a job at 15 just so I wouldn't be forced to do it anymore. My parents used to pimp me out to their friends. Oh, you want to go out with us Saturday? We have a 12-year-old daughter who would love to babysit. I saw a former classmate post on Facebook her almost 12-year-old is available to babysit this summer. I couldn't help but think, did anyone actually ask that girl if she wants to babysit? Or is it assumed simply because she's a girl? Yes, we start muling our girls really early for their unpaid labor. And women continue this process, and we have got to stop this. So we're going to have these conversations because it has to be implanted that this is not right. Children should have the opportunity to be children, not be basically pimped out by their parents, so that they could have, make a little bit of money. And that they're not giving the kids this money. And if the kids wanted to make some extra money and they wanted to be babysitters on their own, that is one thing. But just simply ladling that responsibility on children and taking away it, like Children should have some consent as well. They should have some opportunity to say yes or no. But for whatever reason, children are still seen as property. Yes, children are seen as property, just like women used to be seen as property or even still seen as property. Children are not property to be pimped out and used. All right, some of the comments. This person says, not this exactly, but something sort of adjacent to it happened to me. I was in the military on 9/11, and everything went into immediate lockdown, with everyone having to pull a million guard duty shifts at every facility. You can imagine that was associated with our post. I didn't have a car and lived in the barracks, common for young soldiers, and I was 19. So 9/12 was the first round of guard shifts to get out, and I'm assigned to guard the daycare. So this woman says, not this exactly, but something sort of adjacent to it happened to me. I was in the military on 9/11, and everything went into immediate lockdown, with everyone having to pull a million guard duty shifts at every facility you can imagine that was associated with our post. I didn't have a car and lived in the barracks, common for young soldiers, and I was 19. So the day after 9/11, the first round of guard shifts get put out, and I'm assigned to guard the daycare. There was no shuttle, no bus. It was a solo shift, so no one else heading that way, at least 5 miles from my barracks, and I had to be there at 4 a.m. This felt like an impossible task. I mentioned it to my squad leader, who was cool. He had 2 kids who went to that daycare and lived 3 blocks from it. He said he'd switch with me and I could take his shift at the ammo dump. There were 3 people on that shift and I could catch a ride easily, so this worked. We presented it to our first sergeant more as a heads up. PFC Jones and Sergeant Hudson switched shifts for logistical reasons. Who do we need to tell to update the paperwork? That's when we were told that wasn't acceptable and that I was better suited to guard the daycare. I was like, I'm 19 years old and I don't like kids. Why am I better suited to guard the daycare? Something biology. I was really disturbed by this, but a lesbian serving under Don't Ask, Don't Tell is not a soldier who can afford to stir. So a statistically significant portion of my paychecks for the next month went to taxis to get me to and from my biologically determined guard shift. It was good times. Sarcasm. And then someone says, that's horrific. Yeah, just assuming that somebody is more biologically equipped to do something like guard a daycare is terrible, and we have got to stop painting women and girls into these boxes. This person says, I'm amazed and angry that they made you pay to get there instead of giving you taxi vouchers. I used to work in the Australian Department of Defense. You would have either been provided with official transport of some sort or given travel vouchers or allowed to swap. That is like she has to pay to get to work when they could have easily accommodated her. And yeah, that's amazing. So the OP was like better suited, aka they wanted to dump it on a woman. This person says, reading that made me so angry. It in the Basement says, it isn't uncommon for eldest daughters and preteen, early teen girls to be parentified by their own parents, especially in cases where there is a large age gap with much younger siblings. And the OP was like, yep, oldest daughter here. Eight-legged woman says, this is why so many eldest daughters grow into adults who don't want kids. We raised our younger siblings. I was basically a third parent. We have all the responsibilities of a third parent, but none of the respect or privileges of being an adult, or rights to the children we raised, for that matter. If we ever needed to protect them from their parents, by the time we are 18, we are like, I just raised 2 kids. I got to do this again? Really? Exactly. This is the reason why I am hearing a lot of women are saying no, they do not want to have their own children because they had no choices when they were children and they basically lost out on their childhood because of it. Parents have got to stop doing this. Stop having more children than you can be responsible for, only to dump it onto the other children. No, Banana says, I basically raised my brother for the first 3 years of his life. My stepmother made sure that's all I did before and after school and every weekend. I was 11 to 14. I adored him, of course, but I was the one doing the bottle feedings and had the first shift at night because my school at the time was split schedules and I didn't have to be there until 11. This is a terrible practice. We don't have to have a bunch of kids these days. We don't need the farm labor. We're not an agricultural society anymore. You don't have to have a bunch of kids that you can't afford. You don't have to have a bunch of kids because you're scared that some of your children will not make it out of the newborn stage. You don't have to do that. Stop stripping away children's childhoods because you can't take responsibility for your children. And I'm saying that as a mother with two children. I would never dump that responsibility on my oldest child. Y'all let me know what you think about this one. Let me jump in the comments, like, comment, share.